Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and one of the things I've always hated the most is basically when someone tells me, well, if you're just in your 20s, it doesn't matter. Go ahead, experiment, make mistakes, do whatever you want because eventually things are going to figure themselves out. And the way I think about things is basically, guys, life is kind of like a race. If you got a very good head start, it's almost impossible for you not to come in first, right? But if you go ahead and you mess up your 20s completely, well, in reality, that could potentially ruin your entire life like it does for a lot of people out there. And that's why today, I'm going to give you guys 5 things that I wish I avoided in my 20s, and hopefully you avoid them and don't make those mistakes, and that way you get a massive head start on everyone else. I don't like the idea that, hey, you're young, go make mistakes, okay? Mistakes are important, but I'd rather learn them from somebody else and not learn them from myself, because the last thing I want to do is make mistakes. They're going to cost me a ton of money, and that's why I'm making this video right here. On top of that, guys, if you guys are new here, I post videos every single day on YouTube, so make sure to also subscribe and hit the bell to get notified. And on top of that, also destroying the like button. Now, the very first mistake I made in my 20s was building my credit the incorrect way. Some of my friends said, Tommy, I'm not going to build credit, it's bad. Some of them said, hey, I'm going to build credit, but none of us knew exactly how credit actually worked and what was the best way to go out there and build credit. We thought, hey, let's get a credit card, we apply, we get a credit line, we use it, we pay over time, and that is all it was. Now, I got extremely lucky because the first time I used my credit card, I bought a laptop. I maxed it out, but I got lucky because basically I had 18 months to pay it off interest-free. If it wasn't for that, I would have had a bunch of late payments. I would have had a bunch of trouble and a really bad credit score till this point right here, just because I didn't know exactly how building credits actually work. And for the friends that said, hey, I'm not going to build credits, well, today they wish they actually did something to go ahead and build credit. Now, the correct way, if you are in your 20s right now, to build credit is basically to go out there and get a secured credit card with Capital One, or for example, Discover. Now, secured card is basically when you put, for example, a small deposit into it and they use that money to basically lend it back to you. You use it as a credit card, and when you close the account, they give you back your money. That way, they don't carry that much risk, since in reality, you don't have a credit history whatsoever. Now, the way I would use it is basically put a small bill on your credit card, a small bill like Netflix or your phone bill, whatever it is, and then just pay your credit card off in full every so month automatically, and don't use your credit card for anything else. That way, your credit score goes up, you build up your payment history, and then eventually get a normal credit card. But by that point, your credit score is up, you do the same exact thing, you're not going into debt, and when you actually want to use credit, for example, like buying a house, your credit score is perfect to the point where you can actually qualify for a great rate. The idea is, do not think that credit is basically something you use to buy something you can't afford in cash and pay it over time. The truth is, you're going to pay a lot of money in interest, and it does not benefit you whatsoever. And in reality, it can actually hurt your credit score. So again, get a secured credit card with Capital One or Discover, put a small bill on it, pay it in full every single month, and do not use a credit card for anything else. That way, you don't go into debt and you build your credit score, and by the time you turn like 20 or 21 or 22, you already have a very, very, very good credit score. And by the way, my credit score right now is around a 762 or something like that. So pretty good if you ask me. Now, number 2, people try to move out of their parents' house way too early. Now, I don't know about you guys, but every single movie I saw and every TV show always said, hey, once you turn 18 and you don't have a career, you don't have any money or any real life experience, that's the perfect time to actually go out there and move out your parents' house and get some mediocre job, and then basically live paycheck to paycheck until your career is actually completed, and then boom, you're good to go. But by that point, you already have a ton of debt. And in reality, I never understood this entire idea here. It never made any sense. And the whole thing was basically, well, if you mess up, you can always go back to your parents' house, right? And just stay there with mommy and daddy. I never wanted to move out and then have to move back in, because basically I made the mistake of moving out way too early. It's kind of like throwing a bird off the nest before it even has any feathers, right? It's crazy. It's not gonna survive no matter how hard it flaps its wings, right? That's the way I took it. And then on top of that, I spoke to around a few adults that I actually admire and actually care about, and around 90% of them told me, Tommy, don't move out way too early. It's not a good idea. Get a job, get a career, stack up your money, and then move out to make sure you won't have to move back in. I don't know what all the hype is about moving out with no career, no money, no life experience, and living, for example, in an apartment that's 80 square feet with 10 other people with you. I don't understand what the hype is all about, okay? Once you get a job, and if you live with your parents, start paying them some rent or money for food. Don't be a freeloader by that point, but basically move out when you're ready to move out and you're stable enough, okay? That is my core idea. And by the way, I'm 23 years old. I make a little bit over $200-something thousand every single year. And on top of that, when I move out in March or something like that to Florida, I'm probably gonna take my mom with me, because basically it's kind of like a third world country thing where we kind of like wait a little longer until we actually leave, just to make sure my mom is okay and also my sister's okay, but I can move out at any point I actually want to, knowing that everything is going to be fine, okay? And that's a great feeling. Now, the third mistake is basically buying a starter pack for having a very bad life when it comes to money management. For example, I don't know if you guys ever seen this meme, and I'll show you guys right here, but it's basically all the things you need to become a certain type of person. For example, if you want to be, well, I'll mess it up here, but if you want to be, for example, an influencer, this is all you need. Pictures like this, avocado toast, some coffee, and then these yoga positions, whatever it is. On top of that, okay, here's a starter pack for going back to school right here. Pretty cool stuff, right? So the idea is that it's all you need to basically get started on having a very bad life. For example, age 18, you go to college, get into a massive amount of debt, and you can't pay back, maybe around $35,000. Then after that, you get a credit card, max it out, you can't pay back either. Then after that, you go ahead and buy a car you can't afford, around 30K, you have a payment every so month, and then once you actually graduate, well, in reality, you get an apartment you can't afford either, around 50% of your salary, which makes absolutely no sense. And then after that, guess what happens? By this point, you have so much debt everywhere, whereas basically you don't know what you're actually doing, except that if you lose your job today, you will be out of that apartment by tomorrow. And that's code for, hey, I'm living paycheck to paycheck and I have no idea how it basically happened. But for example, if you go to college, you work while you're in college, you pay for school in full, meaning you're debt-free. You don't actually get into credit card debt. On top of that, you go ahead and buy a used car, get an apartment that's not expensive compared to your income. Well, in reality, when you graduate, you have a bunch of free income to go out there and start investing money. The goal is, don't try to live over your means. Don't try to spend way too much money on things you don't need to impress people you don't even care about or don't care about you. The answer is, try to focus on buying things that give you value, and don't buy things just for the fact that, hey, I'll buy, pay it off later, it's all good. Usually, that's a bad idea. Number 4, giving up way too soon, because basically, success is not coming overnight for you. Now, by the way, if you're new here to my channel, I have over 200,000 subscribers by this point, and the idea is that basically you might say, Tommy, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I want to do YouTube also, but in reality, I post videos every single day. I've been posting since I was around 11 years old, and it took me a very long time going through, for example, gaming channels, drama channels, comedy channels, going through every single thing possible to find out exactly what is it that I actually like, until I arrived to this channel right here, literally 11 years later. So the point is this, okay, some things that are worth it are going to take a lot longer. And by the way, when you're in your 20s or your 18s or your teens, whatever it is, I noticed one thing is very similar with everyone, okay? We always want to get advice from the heroes we actually look forward to, okay? For example, one of my heroes is basically Gary Vee. I like Ty Lopez. I like Warren Buffett. I like all these people. So at some point, I tried to contact them, and when they didn't respond, I kind of felt bad about it. But in reality, you don't need to talk to your heroes or whatever it is. Just go out there and read the content they actually have out there. Also, take the courses they actually have out there. On top of that, just read their books also. You know, I might never meet Warren Buffett. He's like 90 years old now. but you know, I've spoken to him several times. Just by reading his books, I know exactly what he's going to say when I ask him a question. So the truth is that whatever you want to achieve, don't give up, okay? Give it at least 18 months, try very hard at it, keep learning and pivoting until you get to success, and that is the entire point. But success is not going to come easy, and usually it is not going to be overnight unless you're extremely lucky. And we all know that most of the time it's like a 15-minute fame thing, and you know, after 15 minutes basically all that fame is gone because you don't know what to do once you actually arrive there. So that's the point there. Now, the fifth and last thing I want you guys to avoid in your 20s is basically thinking that being young gives you an excuse to actually go ahead and make dumb mistakes. Like I said before, guys, okay, I hate the idea that just because you're young, you're allowed to go out there and make all the mistakes you actually want to, even though they could have been avoided, okay? So the idea is, okay, since you are young, in reality, you don't have an advantage. You actually have a massive disadvantage, right? The idea is that you're young and you don't have any experience, just like I do, right? And what I did was this: if I'm young, what can I do to not have a disadvantage? Well, the answer is just learn from people that are more successful than I am, and also read their books on their mistakes and also their successes, and that way I can go out there and copy what they did and get similar results, if not better results, okay? So for example, the goal is not to go out there and make mistakes because you're young. The goal is to go out there and learn about mistakes so you avoid them even if you are young. That way you get a massive head start on life and can go way further than anyone else. For example, Warren Buffett, one of my heroes, right? He went to Columbia University and said basically that was a waste of time. Maybe I don't want to go to Columbia and waste 100K in student loan debt, and in reality, it's just going to waste my time, right? It's just a mistake I don't want to do. Graham Stephan, a guy on YouTube I actually like a ton, he says, hey, in the beginning of my career, I basically overworked a ton and kind of neglected social skills. Well, maybe I don't want to do that. I want to work, but I also want to have a life balance. On top of that, my dad, very good at making money, but also even better at wasting money. Well, do I have to do that to learn from it? The answer is no. I'm just going to avoid the wasting money part. So just because you're young, don't go out there and make stupid mistakes. It's not worth it, and it's going to basically slow down your progress a ton, and you don't want to do that. But you are allowed to make mistakes, just like I am and anyone else is, okay? The point is, once you make a mistake, learn from it, move on, and grow. Do not stay and shallow and cry in your mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, and that's just a part of the game. And by the way, guys, those are 5 mistakes I want you guys to avoid. But as a bonus for making it all the way to the video, here are 5 more that I won't go over completely because basically the video is going to be way too long. But here they are, okay? Taking on too many tasks. That's number 6, right? The idea is, if you're going to do something, start one by one, finish one task at a time, and then keep moving forward. It's not a good idea to do multiple things and then do a bad job at every single thing out there. Just start small and start one task at a time. On top of that, number 7, working just for money. You'll notice that basically when you work just for money and you hate that job, you'll see that basically money doesn't make anyone happy. You will be so miserable. So the idea is, make sure whatever job you pick or side hustle, make sure there's something in it that you actually enjoy. Whether it's people, you talking to people, whether it's, hey, I love this aspect or that aspect, just make sure it's not all about money, because basically you will be miserable every single second while you're earning that money. Number 8, saying yes way too often. I learned this very early on. When you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. So I'm always very careful with the things I say yes to, because basically if I say yes to this, I'm going to say no to something else that I might care about even more. Number 9, not saying no enough times, because basically you have some type of blind loyalty to someone. The idea is that I don't like not being liked, okay? But sometimes you do have to say no. That person might be angry at you, but you just have to move on and call it a day. Saying no is a very healthy thing, and you don't want to say yes and then get mad after. Just say no sometimes and avoid the whole thing completely. And number 10, and the last thing here, is basically trying to help friends when they're not ready to listen, okay? Some of them got very frustrated. The answer is, if someone doesn't want to listen, they won't listen, and you can't change their mind. So sometimes you say, hey, I think you should do that, and then just walk away and let them decide what they want to do. And here's a bonus, guys, okay? wasting a ton of money. I wasted over $50,000 while I was in college on just pure nonsense, okay? And here's the math, okay? I made an average of around $1,200 just from one job in college, right? And I went to college for around 3.5 years. I did it quickly. The answer is every single year is around $40,000. Over 3.5 years, I wasted around $50,000, not including all my side hustles, my second job, and also my businesses. Meaning I wasted a lot more money than this trying to look cool and trying to impress people. Do not waste your money. Invest it. Learn about investing, learn about savings, and basically pay for college. Those are things that I wish I knew in my 20s. That way I could have avoided a lot of them. Comment down below, guys, and let me know what mistakes have you made that you wish you would have avoided. Comment down below. Let me know. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. And as always, like this video. Also, subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. And on top of that, if you want to text me or talk to me, subscribe to my Patreon, link down below, or send me a DM on Instagram at TommyBryson. And before I go, if you want to watch a video basically on how I got started with investing, watch the video right here. Click on. See you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. And as always, peace.